Dealing with toxic people can feel like walking through a minefield. One wrong step, and you risk being caught in an emotional explosion. But the first step to shutting them down without losing your cool is actually recognizing their behavior early and preparing yourself mentally. Toxic. People don't always come with a warning label. They can be charming at first, only to reveal their true colors gradually through subtle manipulations, constant criticism, or gaslighting that makes you question your own reality. The key is to become aware of these signs before you get drawn in too deep. When you can spot toxic patterns early on, you're no longer a passive participant in their drama. You take back control by setting strong mental boundaries. These boundaries are like invisible shields. They don't mean shutting people out completely, but they help you keep emotional distance so their negativity doesn't infiltrate your mind. Imagine being able to hear a harsh comment and mentally file it away as not my problem instead of letting it weigh on you. That mental separation requires practice, and it starts with understanding that you are in charge of your emotions, not the other person. Toxic people often thrive on your reactions. When they see that you're rattled or defensive, it fuels their behavior. But when you respond with calm detachment, their power diminishes. This mental preparation also involves managing your expectations. Toxic individuals rarely change overnight. Accepting this reality frees you from the frustration of hoping they will suddenly become reasonable or kind. Instead, you focus on what you can control, your response. It's helpful to remind yourself regularly that their negativity says more about them than it does about you. This mindset is your anchor, keeping you grounded in moments of conflict. Now, once you've recognized the toxicity and built those mental barriers, the next crucial skill is mastering calm communication. This is where many people stumble because emotions run high when facing toxic behavior. But the goal is to respond without reacting. There's a big difference between the two. Reacting is impulsive, emotional, and often escalates conflict. Responding is thoughtful, measured, and designed to maintain your composure. One powerful technique is to focus on controlling your tone and body language first. Even if the words inside you feel like a storm, presenting calmness externally sends a clear message that you're not an easy target. Keep your voice steady and neutral. Avoid sarcasm or raised volume because that only invites more chaos. Simple gestures like maintaining eye contact without glaring, keeping your posture open but firm, and using pauses before speaking can disarm the situation. Choosing your words carefully is just as important. Use I statements to express your feelings without blaming or attacking the other person. For example, saying, "I feel uncomfortable when conversations turn disrespectful," is far more effective than, "You're always rude." This approach reduces defensiveness and keeps the conversation focused on the issue, not the personalities involved. Active listening also plays a key role here. By genuinely hearing what the other person says, you demonstrate control and confidence. You're not just waiting to rebut, you're showing you're in charge of the dialogue. Another vital part of calm communication is knowing when to keep your responses short and simple. Toxic people often try to drag conversations into endless arguments to wear you down. You can shut that tactic down by limiting your engagement to clear, concise answers. Saying things like, "I'm not going to discuss this further," or "let's agree to disagree" effectively closes the door on escalation without provoking more conflict. By mastering these communication skills, you create an environment where toxic behavior loses its fuel, your emotional reaction. You might be surprised how often toxic individuals back off when they realize you're not going to play their game. It's a subtle power shift, but an incredibly empowering one. Staying calm doesn't mean you're weak or passive. It shows strength, discipline, and self-respect, which toxic people often lack themselves. The journey of shutting down toxic people without losing your cool begins with this foundation of awareness and calm response. When you recognize toxicity early and fortify your mind, then meet it with controlled, thoughtful communication, you break the cycle of drama and regain your peace. This isn't about changing the other person. It's about changing how you relate to them. And that is where your true power lies. When dealing with toxic people, knowing how to strategically deflect and redirect conversations can make all the difference in maintaining your calm and shutting down negativity. Toxic individuals often thrive on control and drama, so giving them the reaction they seek only fuels their behavior. Instead, you can take a step back and use subtle techniques to shift the focus away from conflict and protect your energy. One effective approach is using humor, not the sarcastic or biting kind, but lighthearted, disarming humor that diffuses tension without adding fuel to the fire. A well-timed joke or witty remark can throw toxic people off balance, showing them you're not rattled and can stay composed even in uncomfortable moments. Humor acts like a shield, making you less vulnerable to their negativity while keeping the atmosphere lighter. Another way to redirect is by changing the subject gracefully. When the conversation heads down a toxic path, smoothly introducing a new topic can steer things away from negativity without confrontation. For example, if someone begins criticizing or blaming, you might respond with something like, "That's an interesting point. Speaking of which, have you heard about?" And then bring up a neutral or positive subject. This shift signals that you're not willing to dwell on toxic topics and keeps the interaction from spiraling. It can be especially powerful because it shows control without escalating conflict, which often surprises toxic people who expect a fight. At times, though, subtle redirection isn't enough, and you may need to call out toxic behavior calmly and directly. This doesn't mean confronting with anger or accusations, but rather naming the behavior in a composed way that holds the person accountable without escalating drama. Saying something like, "I notice this conversation is getting unproductive," or "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way," sets clear boundaries and lets the toxic person know their actions aren't acceptable. This approach is effective because it combines assertiveness with calmness, two qualities toxic people often lack, but respect when they see them. It also sends a message that you're not an easy target, reducing the chances of continued toxicity. Despite all these tools, sometimes the most important skill is recognizing when to walk away. Not every toxic situation can or should be resolved in the moment. Protecting your mental health means prioritizing self-care and knowing when to disengage, even if that means ending a conversation or distancing yourself from a person altogether. Walking away doesn't make you weak or avoidant. It shows strength and wisdom. It means valuing your peace over pointless battles. Sometimes toxicity is deeply ingrained, and no amount of calm communication or deflection will change it. In those cases, the healthiest choice is to remove yourself physically or emotionally to avoid long-term harm. Self-care isn't selfish. It's a necessary foundation for maintaining your composure and strength. Taking time for yourself allows you to recharge and build resilience against toxic influences. This might include setting firm limits on how much time you spend with certain people, engaging in activities that restore your energy, or seeking support from friends, family, or professionals. Remember, shutting down toxic people effectively means more than just managing individual conversations. It requires ongoing care for your own well-being. It's also helpful to remind yourself regularly that your value isn't determined by how others treat you, especially toxic individuals who often project their own insecurities and pain. Building a strong sense of self-worth creates an internal fortress that makes it easier to walk away or stand firm without crumbling under pressure. Practicing mindfulness or meditation can aid in this process by helping you stay present and centered rather than caught up in reactive emotions. Ultimately, the journey to shutting down toxic people without losing your cool combines these strategies: deflecting and redirecting, calmly calling out behavior, and prioritizing self-care with the courage to walk away when needed. Each step builds your inner strength and emotional resilience, allowing you to face toxicity with grace rather than frustration. When you master these skills, you take back control over your interactions and protect your peace, no matter how challenging the situation. You don't have to let toxic people dictate your emotional state or consume your energy. By using thoughtful tactics to deflect negativity and knowing when to disengage, you preserve your calm and dignity. Walking away from toxicity isn't giving up. It's choosing to honor your well-being and focus your energy on what truly matters. This balance of strategic interaction and self-care is where real power lies, enabling you to live with confidence and peace, no matter who crosses your path.